take a look around and find somebody to War Eagle. It's showtime.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
Hello, good Sunday morning and War Eagle Auburn family. My goodness. Welcome to another edition, the LSU edition of Auburn Stuff. What did we learn? And I'm going to move a few things around here. Put down my water. I'm a little parched. I'm not sure what the hell, if anything, we learned from this, although I think perhaps this edition will be more about affirmation than knowledge. Because that was craziness. And by the way, I let off last week's episode of What Did We Learn where with a little anecdote about the text I received from my friend who is a graduate / fan of another university about which we shall not speak yet. And the her incredulity, I suppose, at the unfolding of the Georgia State game. And my response, which was, yeah, that's about right. And so to this game, to the LSU game, if you are new to my channel, to Auburn Stuff, to the podcast and all the things that I do here, or, you know, if you're a fan, a casual college football fan, or a fan of another team that just happened to slide by and find this, and you are aware of and or saw the LSU game last night, then that's pretty standard for us. And I'd love to see a sociological / physiological study of Auburn graduates, Auburn fans, Auburn people in general, and our lifespans and our blood pressure and things like that. Maybe, perhaps it just makes us stronger. But anyway, moving on. So as I said, knowledge, learning. What did we learn? We learned a thing or two, but again, I'm gonna try to move through this pretty quickly and talk about the things that we affirmed, lessons that we relearned or were reinforced, or things that we should have known as sentient beings already, but if we had not taken the lessons of life thus far, they were hammered into our skulls last night. And there should be no doubt, moving forward in your mind about some of these things. So affirmation. Well, first of all, I think that we learned exactly and precisely who this team is. And will be for the remainder of the season. And I think that's a good thing. And strangely enough, because I'm gonna dig in to this guy because I can't resist it, because of circumstances left behind that piled up over the years, and I just cannot resist a good dig at this individual. Ironically, in the first season of the last tenure, it seemed that the 2013 Auburn Tigers figured out who the hell they were in the second half of the LSU game that year. And it seems that has happened again. Now, the difference was they did not win that game because adjustments were not made, things were not figured out in a timely enough fashion. And perhaps, I don't know if that team maybe wasn't quite as talented as this team. I think there were some pieces to the 13 team that that are a bit different from this one, particularly on defense. So I do believe that we learned that. I believe that we learned who this team is and who they will be for the remainder of the season. And one has to believe that with that knowledge, the coaching staff that is currently on board, given what they did last night, will not revert back to things that were being experimented on in the previous 4 games. So I have faith that, and believe me, I was dog cussing these coordinators in the first quarter of that game last night. I'm not immune to emotion when it comes to my Auburn Tigers, and it did not seem. If you haven't heard the last episode of the podcast, which I recorded and released yesterday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, go take a listen to that. And accountability states that I put it out there that evidence suggested that TJ Finley should be starting that game and playing that game. And I based that on the fact that through 4 games that Mike Bobo did not seem to want to call or create a game plan based around the skill set of his given starting quarterback. And that was my reasoning for suggesting that TJ should have started. Now, what we apparently saw was the adjustment. And we saw Bo being Bo, and Bo, I guess, not only being allowed to be Bo, but encouraged to be Bo, but also enhanced Bo, which was Bo with checkdowns, Bo with tight ends blocking. And by the way, if you go back and look at that key Jarquez Hunter run on that final drive and look at the left side of the line, watch the block that Wdwl sets on that edge. I think it was Trox that went out and created the left side of that lane, but without Wdwl sealing off the edge, I don't think Hunter, I mean, he perhaps would have gotten a decent run out of it, maybe 5, 6, 7 yards, because the man's a monstrous beast of a human being as a running back. But that block by Wdwl setting that edge, I wanted to, that occurred to me, and I wanted to make sure that no one missed that. So anyway, moving on to affirmation. And by the way, I want to start with other teams, and let me pull up some data over here, some telemetry. Most particularly, I want to pick on LSU, and I'm going to pick on Arkansas a little bit, although Arkansas was, that game, we're going to talk about the team they played in the next podcast episode, but there's too much joy in my heart to discuss that other team that Arkansas played right now. But I really want to pick on, more so than this guy, the concept that everyone was so desperate for, particularly in our coaching search, about system guy. We got to bring in a guy who's got a system. While I'm screaming, and anybody with any sort of perspicacity above the level of potting soil was saying, you don't bring a system guy because you handcuff yourself. You bring in a program builder. Okay? So let me pick on Lane. Sorry, Lane. So let me pick on him. And apparently, I didn't see this, but apparently, according to commentators in that Alabama-Ole Miss game, that Lane was shit-talking before the game, which is not surprising to anyone. But, dude, at this point in your life and in your career, just shut the fuck up. Seriously? I mean, do you not see this coming? Go study a little Buddhism and figure out how the universe works, okay? The universe demands balance. And you are the yang. Actually, you're probably the yin to the world's yang. So stop being or you know what? Don't stop being an asshole, because you're a great source of comedy. But the lesson is here, as it always has been and always will be, that being a demonically badass coordinator does not make you a good head coach. It just doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean that because you're an awesome coordinator, you will necessarily not be a good head coach. But when you go looking for that coordinator, the hot coordinator, especially on offense, because that guy wants to get, as a head coach, wants to be too involved in minutia rather than in delegating, which is what a head coach should do. So yeah, being a spectacular coordinator does not make you a good head coach. And I've been screaming about this for years. They are two totally different jobs. Totally different jobs with totally different purviews. And overall, over time, given the breadth and scope of everything that happens, that guy, the badass coordinator who's too involved in minutia during the game, will always get you beat. System guy will always get you killed in the end, because he's always reduced to nothing more than being a prisoner of his own ideology. And that is it. He may win a game or two here and there and bring your emotions way up. Hey, you know that roller coaster, that Auburn roller coaster we always talk about, where it's so high and so low and oh my God. Well, that's what System Guy does. System Guy gives you those wins against Alabama that we were so thrilled for and always will be thrilled for. Never, ever, never discount those. But because System Guy is a prisoner of his own ideology, he cannot adjust in the face of adversity unless he's forced to. And I always think about that Texas A&M game that we were at in 1918, where we just pounded our head against a brick wall for about 50 minutes or so. And then I guess somebody just said, look, dude, you got to do something different. They ran the 2-minute offense, scored 2 touchdowns in the last 5-6 minutes, something like that, and won the game. But then went right back to doing the regular shit, trying to force a square peg in a round hole, trying to force the players to the system rather than building a scheme around the players. And that's what you get. You get regular losses to Mississippi State and Arkansas and crap like that. And that's not good for all of our hearts. So that was affirmation. Being a system guy is death in the end. Look around. Lane, come on, man. We affirmed that given what happened, I'll lead in with this. You can't figure out the vagaries of the athletic performance and will of 18 to 22-year-olds. You just can't do it. Can't do it. Because looking at what we did last week versus Georgia State, which was flat all the way around in a scramble to the death to the end to try to figure out some way to pull that shit out of the fire. And that same Georgia State team at home got boat raced and curb stomped by Appalachian State. 45-16. So go figure. When we all sit here and try to analyze and predict and using reason and data, a lot of that shit goes out the window when it comes to college athletics, because they're still young folks, still figuring things out. They got 27 things going on in their head at the same time that, quite frankly, they should be able to compartmentalize. And so you get things like Auburn scrambling at the last second to beat a Georgia State team at home that then went and lost by 29 points to 26, 36, 4. Yeah, 29 points to App State. So that's delightful. We have also affirmed, without any doubt, as we always knew, this probably needed no affirmation, that preseason polls are not only worthless, they are hideously, hideously biased based on things that the media wants to see. So the media runs most of the polls, I guess, and then, whatever, it's always a mystery as to who votes in the coaches poll, the SID or, some random person. It's like the State Department. Who's making policy? Well, that GS-19 sitting in the basement of some building in suburban Washington, D.C. that is writing policy while everybody else is having hot tub orgies and spending all of our money. So yeah, they're based on media bias, coaching nonsense, things that they want to see happen. And so once again, for the millionth time, and I'm sure a huge chorus of you, say, give it a rest with Notre Dame and Miami and Texas, among others, but just give it a rest because it's ridiculous. And especially with the bloodbath that we saw yesterday. And Oklahoma, what are they doing? Now, Oklahoma, okay, it's legit to preseason and beginning of season rank them because they're always there at the end, but they're sort of struggling this year, but struggling through wins. And, like we said, the vagaries of college athletes, what the heck are you going to do about it? But Oregon losing, and I believe, did I see that they've lost like 3 in a row to Stanford now or something like that? That's got to hurt. And Florida, Florida's, well, what we learned? Here's the thing we learned. We learned that Alabama and Georgia are really, really, well, we didn't learn that. We knew that. That was affirmed. But what we did learn was that the majority of the rest of the SEC is okay. Almost everybody. Vandy sucks. South Carolina probably sucks because what did they do? They beat Troy by a handful of points. But other than Vandy and maybe South Carolina, the remainder of the SEC outside of Georgia and Alabama is okay. Marginal, average, decent. Probably any one of those teams can beat any other one of those teams on any given Saturday. And I think that's probably the future of college football. A handful of teams that, by reason of created circumstances, state money, and a few other things, a few other nefarious things are going to always be there. And everybody else is going to be right in here. It's the socialist way. You have the elite and then everybody else toiling in ignominy, in nothingness, in meh. You know what? Here we go. It's right here in front of me. Fucking Gus. Oh, hysterical. How utterly delicious of a fuck you burger was it to watch that guy at UCF lose to Navy? I didn't see the game, but I heard a few things, and I went and looked at the stats and the play-by-play online this morning, and boy, karma? I don't know. But it's really weird that guy and Nate Craig Myers and Big Cat, bless his heart. I don't think Big Cat's a bad guy. I just think he's had some really, really bad upbringing and not a lot of people around him that help him think some things through with all his shit talking before the season. But Big Cat, if you can possibly believe this, got an offsides penalty that extended a drive for Navy that allowed them to score the winning touchdown. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But so while Numbnuts was down there losing to Navy, his successor terminated the dreaded LSU losing streak that he couldn't do, even though he had two really very good chances to do so, did not and could not. Whilst also making this coaching staff, the successor and his coaching staff, making on-the-fly adjustments all over the field, figuring stuff out, which never would have happened prior, and giving a tight end, not only putting 1 and 2 and 3 tight ends in the game, using them as blockers and using them as pass catchers, but giving a tight end a 100-yard reception game. Boom. How about you? Use the weapons at your disposal. Utilize the weapons at your disposal. Blocking, catching, running, putting him at fullback, putting 2 of them on the left side of the line to blow open a hole for a massive, massive game-changing run at the end of the game. Yeah, that's how you do that. In the meantime, you were losing to Navy, who, by the way, threw the ball. I believe that they were 2 of 4 passing. Navy threw the ball 4 times, completed 2 of them for something like 6 yards, and ran the ball, I believe, 77 times, I want to say. Lord have mercy. So that was fun. Arkansas, I've long said that I just don't go. I've been to, back in the day, I've been to a few road games, and only to have your guts ripped out and to also be physically and verbally assaulted by the home fans of the place that you're visiting. And so for me, I don't really feel like spending $500 to $1,000 on tickets and transportation and lodging and all the things that go along with it to go to a road game to just really have a miserable time of it. Even if you win, having a miserable time of it as you fear for your safety getting out of the stadium in a lot of these places. Now, that means, I know there's balance. That means that I won't be there for moments like what happened last night. And I'd like to hear some more reports on the ground about the exit of the stadium. Although, interestingly, wasn't it? Did you see there was a camera pan of the stadium from field level looking up in that crucial time of the game where I believe there was about 6.5 minutes left, and I think that Auburn had just gotten the ball. LSU is still leading by 2, and the stadium was half empty. I don't know what that says, but so be it. But I'd love to know how you all, those of you who went, fared getting out of the stadium and getting back to getting to and in your cars and getting the hell out of Baton Rouge or to wherever you were going. But so that's my cross to bear. I don't go to road games because of that. Most of these people are just not nice to be around on the road. But particularly, I point out Arkansas and Ole Miss. Bless your hearts for those of you who showed up in support of your team. And that's the thing. Again, that's my thing to bear. I'm not there. Go on the road. It takes a stout pair of balls to go on the road and wear your colors and go in that stadium. Now, I think Penn State, I don't think there were any, there's a history of issues up there. But if you go to places like Baton Rouge and Athens and Tuscaloosa and Gainesville, it's a 50-50 chance of whether you're going to get murdered or not, just simply because of the colors that you wear. So Arkansas and Ole Miss went on the road, and their fans, they had some cadre of fans there to support each of them. And the Ole Miss trip to Tuscaloosa is a lot easier than Fayetteville to Athens, although we know that fans are spread out, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're coming from the town in which their university is located. But was it worth it, man? Arkansas and Ole Miss just absolutely getting destroyed. You had 0.0 things for which to cheer. And you just sat there being miserable and mocked in the road stadium. And either you sat there and just took it the whole time, or you left early for a game that tickets you probably paid at least $100 for, probably more closer to $200 and maybe above that if you don't have that season ticket availability. If you're not a season ticket holder and have the availability, the opportunity to get those tickets at a regular price as opposed to a second and third party market prices. So Arkansas and Ole Miss, did you enjoy your road trips? That's why I don't go and lay out all the resources that it takes to go to a road game, because I just don't want to subject myself to that. We also affirmed that Bo is great at street ball. Bo played Johnny Manziel last night without the entitled dickhead attitude that Johnny Manziel was inculcated with during his upbringing, apparently. So, boy, things looked hard. It's so stressful as a fan when when the perception is that it's that difficult to do anything. Now, it's fun to watch him run around with his hair on fire and make insane plays like that throw to Tyler Fromm. Wow. Looks hard. It's fun when it works out like that, but it looks so hard. But a thing that we learned is that perhaps the offensive coaches might just gear game strategy, in-game strategy, build a game plan, but in-game strategy, working on what's going on at the time, taking what the defense is going to give you and work that to Bo's strengths. That would have never happened before. Now my voice is hitching up on me from being up till 2:30 a.m. Eastern time last night. So I apologize for all the throat clearing and the phlegm. And perhaps, as we wind up, I'm going to save that for last. I'm going to bring this one in. Hey, Smoke, give it a rest, will you? I see you on Instagram. I'm quite sure that you're on TikTok and Snapchat. I'm not on either of those two, but I see you on Instagram posting all your cool guy shit that has nothing to do with football. And what I'd like for you to do is spend a little less time on social media and a little more time not sucking at football. Because you're finger wagging and you're shit talking in inopportune times when you're just getting absolutely run all over the field, missing coverage. It just doesn't look good, man. It does not look good. And I pull for you. I love you, brother. As long as you're wearing that blue, that orange and blue, and you're at least, making an effort to be a decent citizen. But God damn, that shit's got to stop, doesn't it? And it's not you intrinsically. It seems to be a defensive back and wide receiver thing. And whether it's doing some goofy ass celebration when you make a play that is just your job to make when you're down by 5 touchdowns, or whether it's getting burned and blown up and run around the field all night long, and then you happen to be part of a play a decent play and then you finger wagging and shit talking and really pushing up to the line of getting unsportsmanlike calls, give it a rest, man. Pull it in, be within yourself, be a grown-up, and realize that you're part of a team. And what you do individually as part of a team matters. Because if you get a 15-yard penalty there in either of those circumstances last night and in any other circumstance the games before, what are you doing? You're hurting your team. Learn what that is, because that lesson is going to apply to the rest of your life, whether you want it to or not. That's enough about that. So, God, as I was on all of my media stuff prior to the game, all the announcements of, Bo's, looks like Bo's going to be starting, and Owen Papo's not going to be playing, and Zeke Walker and T.D. Moultrie didn't make the trip, and what's his name? One of the receivers, I forget, didn't make the trip. Tank's not 100%. I heard at one point that Tank, before the game, Tank might not be playing. Despite all of that, so Tank's not 100%. Owen, Zeke, TD, several other guys not there at all or not playing. And this team still won in a hostile SEC road environment. That's a good thing to know. That's a good thing to know. Tangentially, Derek Hall, Colby Wooden, and Echo Leota, yeah, those guys are full-grown men. Those guys, along with what we already know, Zacoby, comprise the guts of this defense. And we all talked preseason about how secondary was going to hold the defense together while the front guys, the linebackers were going to be solid. The secondary was going to hold it together while the front learned how to play. Well, the front stepped up last night in a big time way. And that was fun to see. And I think I'll bring it to a close with this. Where are we at here? About 32 minutes? Yeah, that's enough out of me. Maybe we learned or affirmed that sitting an entrenched quarterback will light a fire under his ass. And more specifically, we damn sure affirmed that the oldest precept in all of human existence, that adversity builds character and defines the hero archetype, well, that seems to hold true yet again throughout the history of humanity. Unbelievable. So, you got that? All you junior Marxists out there? Unbelievable. Failure doesn't define you or victimize you. No. Failure sets you up for triumph should you decide to rise to the occasion. And I think that's about enough out of me. So I thank you for a little bit of your precious time. And I'd like to say, if you are on YouTube, the last episode I did not put over on the podcast site, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do that this time. If you are on the YouTube side and you like podcasts as well, jump on over to Auburn Stuff. Search for it anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're headquartered at Podbean. So give me a like and a follow and a subscribe over there. It doesn't cost you anything but a few seconds of your time, and I certainly would appreciate it, because we all know how the algorithms work with ratings and reviews and follows and subscriptions and likes and all that stuff. And conversely, if you are on the podcast side, I thank you for your time. But if you would like a little video content as well, jump on over to Auburn Stuff on YouTube, and same thing, little subscribe, little bell, little thumb up, little comment if you'd like, if you are so inclined. And as I get on out of here and bid you a wonderful, joyful, triumphant Sunday afternoon, and whenever you may be consuming this media dissemination, have an absolutely spectacular and joyful remainder of your Sunday or whenever and wherever you're at. So once again, thanks for your time. Give us a like and a subscribe, and look for Auburn Stuff everywhere. Everybody, take joy in this hideous streak ending. There is no such thing as a curse. There's no such thing as voodoo. All it takes is will and fortitude. See y'all next time. War Eagle.